Welcome back, welcome back. We are live in Omaha, Nebraska at the Omaha Bakery. And if you hadn't been here, you need to come in here. The food is absolutely wonderful. Michelle Kaiser is the chef here. She has donuts, these donuts are so kingdom. I guarantee you by the time you bite into it, you will come back more, you will stay here, drink coffee, everything else. I'm gonna give a shout out to my man that's doing this filming. His name is Brian Gill. He has I Sell Words, one of the best cameramans in the city. He knows what he's doing. If you need someone to do that, give him a shout out. He'll come and do anything that you want to do. I'm gonna give a shout out to our master international photographer. Her name is Monica Semke. She's one of the best photographers in the United States. She's known worldwide for her photos and everything else. So give her a shout out. She does weddings, she does high school, baby pictures, whatever you want done.
Can we see that business card?
Yes.
That looks kind of
now
fancy.
this is something that's amazing. She has changed her business card. Look at that.
Woo!
Look at that. And on the verse side, she has her name.
All right.
That's her name, not mine, her name. So I want you to know she's a great photographer, great friend of mine, and we have known each other for a year or so we're good at what we do. Now, I hope you got enough information from our last speaker, Julia Peterson of Renaissance Financial. If you have any other questions, just ask her while we're online. If she wants to come up, she'll come up, she'll talk to you. We're here for a little bit, so if you have any questions, get your notebook pads, listen clearly, understand what you need. No question is stupid, no question is ignorant. If you don't know certain things, they'll answer the questions for you. The next speaker I'm going to bring up is one of the world-renowned tax advisors. She has over 200 clients. She's been in business for over 30 years. She's known throughout the United States. People call her from Texas, from Virginia, from New York, any time of the day, asking her some questions. Her name is Miss Irene Tryon. She's now a published author called Rise Above. It's a great book. If you haven't seen it, you will get it. It is the most personal, in-your-face type book. It gets you to think. So if you have any tax questions, she runs a company called IT Tax and Business Solutions. Anything. Her heart is this, and she does have clients that are way up there in the numbers, and she'll do a mom and pops, whatever. So right now, I'm gonna bring her up here. Her name is Miss Irene Tryon, the CEO of IT Tax and Business Solutions. Ms. Tryon.
Yay!
Hello, everyone, and hello. Gerald, I don't even have to introduce myself. You did a wonderful job. Make me feel good here. And I hope you all are feeling good out there. I know it's tax time, but for us, tax time is any time. Any time is tax time. Check out this commercial.
Year after year, can never remember how to do these taxes.
Well, Dad, you don't have to stress. With tax time anytime, you can do your taxes anytime.
Yeah, Dad. Tax time anytime. Duh.
Tax time, anytime, tax time.
At Tax Time Anytime, it's never too late to do your taxes, even if you're behind a couple of years. We also help with payroll, accounting, and bookkeeping year-round. Don't wait any longer. Call now to schedule a free consultation and put your mind at ease. With Tax Time Anytime.
Yes. Tax time is any time. And the reason why tax time is any time is because some of us just don't realize how important it is to get your taxes done and to get them done on time. So I'm going to share with you some information about the new tax laws, and anything that you have, any questions that you have, make sure you post them on there so that I can get a chance to answer those questions for you. And as mentioned before, I have really set some goals, and I accomplished one of the #1 goals that I had in my life within the last 20 years is to finally publish a book. So I co-authored a book called Rise Above. It's Rise Above Poverty. And do you know that if you have debt, whether it's tax debt or any kind of debt, you can find yourself below poverty, trying to struggle, trying to get your way out, because debt is a serious thing, whether it's tax debt or any kind of debt. So I'm glad to be part of this workshop, this group, this seminar, whatever you want to label it, but I'm glad to be a part of this because Nicole Ryan herself is the #1 person that can help you be debt-free. So I want to talk to you about tax debt and how to eliminate that in your life. So to begin with, as you know, we have a company here local in Omaha and we're located off of 90th and 4th Street. And our company is IT Tax and Business Solutions. We started out in 1998 as Small Business Services. My husband and I, we were instilled as a team. He did IT work, and I did taxes and accounting and payroll. And so we just kind of formed this relationship and this partnership where we were helping any small businesses that needed help. And it just grew and it grew. And I can recall sitting in the back of the room at some of the seminars, and they were always looking for the CPAs and the accountants to come in and answer questions. And you know what? Who was always there? Me and Vernon, my husband Vernon. We would be sitting in the back of the room listening. And so they started calling us up. You know, there's some CPAs in the room. Oh, there's Irene and Vernon back there. And so we just go up there and then we just answer the questions. And we became known as the CPAs, and we had to let them know we're not a CPA, we're a tax advisor, we're tax professionals. And so we learn our craft, and now we are experts at what we do. And what we do is teach other people. Now, if you do your own taxes, you don't need to be an expert, but you do need to have a tax advisor that can help you, teach you, and get in your face somewhat to help you see and understand what you need to do to get your taxes done right, okay? So we're going to start off talking about how to avoid tax debt, whether it's for your personal or for your business. You can seriously get yourself in debt with taxes.
Come on.
And one of the reasons why is because you don't know your federal tax responsibility. So what does that mean? It means you need to know your filing status. What is your standard deduction limits or itemization? And tax brackets or your tax rates. Now, I am going to talk a little bit later about the new rates and some of the new things that is happening out here with the tax laws. But most important is that you have to understand your filing status. So here is a chart that for those of you who are not a numbers person, you'll be able to see that we no longer have 5, 6, 7 tax brackets. We have 4 simple tax rates. And what that means is that you're going to fall in one of these tax brackets, 10, 12, 22, or 24%. So if you know that you are filing as an individual, a single person, and you made up to $9,525, that's what's on your W-2 as your gross income. I believe is in box 1. But whatever it is, this is the number that you're going to pay 10% tax rate. Now keep in mind that when you fill out your W-4 and you tell your company that this is the withholdings that I'm going to have and this is how much I would like to take out of my taxes extra, or I just want just the standard. I am single and I'm going to count 3 or 4 of my dependents, and so therefore this is what I'm going to have. Well, guess what? I want you to tell me, if you are out there, tell me what happens when your numbers are too high. We're going to see how many of you are going to respond. If your numbers are too high, do you believe that you're going to get less on your check or more on your check?
I would think more.
So when we talk about more, some people really believe that they're going to get more money on their check because they have more deductions. Well, guess what happens when you file your taxes?
Then you gotta pay tax.
You got to pay taxes. So if you put your numbers up to 9 and 10 withholdings on your W-4 form, and it is kind of misleading somewhat because they have a bunch of questions and they tell you to answer those questions. And as you answer those questions, you end up with 6 or 7 sometimes in those boxes, and so you're like, oh, I guess this is what I'm supposed to put on there. So what ends up happening is that there's no federal or state taxes coming out of your W-2. So what happens when you get ready to file your tax return, you only had out of $10,000 that you made, and at a 10% tax rate, you only had $50 come out of your federal tax return. And so when you do file, out of your W-2, so when you file your tax return, you ended up having to pay 10%. So what's 10% of $10,000? Anybody know?
$1,000.
$1,000. Okay, so that means that $1,000 is what your taxes is going to be. Just for an example. And you had $50 come out for federal. What's going to happen? How much you think you're going to owe? Some money, right? So this is very important to understand that your tax rates is going to reflect how much money you make throughout the year. And if you're married filing joint, this is what the tax brackets look like for you. Now, so much about taxes and tax rates and tax brackets. Again, you need to understand where you are. Understanding your tax situations means that you need to know where you are. Your situation is not the same as your neighbors. Time after time after time, I have clients come in and say, well, you know what, my buddy is this, and my friend this, and this person has the same situation that I have. And so why they get more money back on their taxes than what I'm getting? And they don't seem to understand that your situation is not the same as your neighbors. And there's a lot of variables in there that can make a difference. You may be married, have 5 kids, they're married, have 5 kids, but they got $20,000 back in their return. They went to a online, I won't name it, but you know who I'm talking about. But you went online and you got your taxes done and you answered those questions. But you really answered them and you watched the clock keep going up and up, which means that the refund got higher and higher, and you got so excited, so next thing you knew, you had $20,000 coming back on your tax return. And it looks good to you. You know, it was a legal company, it's online, you know, or you went to the store and brought the package and you answered the questions based on what they said, and you get this $20,000 refund to find out later that your situation was not the same as that cookie cutter program that you were using that really wasn't designed for someone like you that may not know everything and all things about taxes. And so now, what's going to happen? Well, we'll talk about that later. So your situation is not the same as your neighbors. Know what's best for you. What is best for you? You have to understand that, as we talked earlier with our financial advisor, our specialist here, Julia, we understand that our financial situation is different. Everybody's situation is different. And you really need to sit down with a financial planner or advisor to find out what your financial situation really is. Because sometimes you can have money in a retirement, you can have money over here, money over there, and you need to know what's the best way to file your taxes in order to not just get a large refund, but how to manage your money properly and manage your taxes, okay? So know what's best for you and get personal one-on-one advice on what you should do. Also, filing your taxes online can keep you out of tax debt. Why? Those of you that are out there on Facebook, I would like for you to tell me, and I want to see how many people really do know when you should file your taxes. Anybody in the room can tell me, what is the deadline for filing your taxes?
April 15th.
Okay, everybody knows that it's April 15th. So why do you file your taxes November 15th? Why do you file your taxes October 15th or September 15th? Why do you file your taxes when you know that they are due April 15th? Good question. I would like to know why. Is anybody out there on Facebook that's saying, and I can't see for right now what some of the questions are, but I'd like for you to at least ask yourself, why is it that people file their taxes later? If you're getting a refund back, you got money coming back, it still does not mean that you should file your taxes late, because there is a penalty for filing your taxes late, and you can lose anywhere from $100 to $200 to $300 penalty just because you file your taxes late. So file your taxes online. Now, how does that get you in debt? Just because you have a penalty of $200 don't mean that you're in debt, right? Right, but you can get assessed a penalty for filing your taxes late, and there's also going to be a, not so much of a red flag, but there are notches that are set aside for you, and after so many times that you keep every year prolonging when you want to get your taxes filed and when you should file your taxes, it turns out that now they're going to be looking for you. Oh, you over there, you're the one that keep filing your taxes late. Okay, so we want you to come in the office. Okay, so you end up getting an examination, what we call an audit, and now they want to go back 3 to 4 years, and guess what? Remember that $20,000 that you got back for a refund because you used that product that told you that it was legal? Well, now, because you're filing your taxes late, or whatever the situation is, they're going to audit you, and now, if you don't go to an advisor, And let me back up a little bit. I had to help someone recently who did go and do their taxes online. And what ended up happening was their taxes was done incorrectly, and they came to me to help them fix the problem. Now, there's tax resolutionists out there that charges you anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 or more to resolve. That's why they are tax resolutionists, because they help you resolve your tax issue if you ever have an examination or just an inquiry. They may just want to know one item on your tax return line, and they may be asking that question. Well, here's what happens. When you go in there and you talk to them, they want to know your personal life. They want to know what's on your personal bank statement. They want to know how many kids you have, how many people live in your house, how many dogs and cats do you have, what car do you drive. They go and do a personal analysis, which is legal for them to ask you personal questions when you are in their tax office. It has nothing to do with you filing your taxes late, but you open yourself up now for them to look at your whole life. And when you start to answer those questions, they lead to another set of questions that they start to ask you. And so now you file your cousin's friend's child,
Please.
because they were living with you for a period of time, and you forgot all about it. So they ask you, who's Jimmy John?
Yeah.
Jimmy John, who is Jimmy John? I don't know Jimmy John. You know your children's name, but this was a relative that stayed with you for a short period of time, and you filed them on your taxes. So now they asked you a question 3 years back, and you don't even remember who Jimmy John is. Well, guess what? You're in trouble. You are in trouble. Now, to have a tax advisor come and help you out, it may help you somewhat, but guess what? You're the one that filed that tax return. So because you're the one that filed that tax return, there's only so much that I, myself, or an advisor can do to help you, because you have to answer those questions as to why you filled out those questions. But tell me this, is it possible for that online service or the company that you use when you went to Best Buy or some of those stores and brought the product, is there any way that they can come and sit with you and help you? Can they sit there and help you?
No.
You know, who's going to help you? So now you're going to have to pay $3,000 to $5,000 to just have someone sit and look at what the problem is and what you can do to fix it. So that's going to get you in debt, unless you have $5,000, $3,000 sitting off in your account that you can pay someone just to give you some advice. Now, we're not even talking about fixing the problem. So this is one of the ways that can get you in tax debt. So make sure you file your taxes on time and make sure you understand your tax situation. So I wanted to share a story with you, but before I do that, I want to talk to you about practice good record keeping. Now, this is mostly relating to, this is straight from the IRS, but I also practice these things. And most of the time, people do not want to sit with me because I am what you call the queen of due diligence. And what that means is that you're going to do it right, you're going to do it the proper way, and you're going to show me your receipts. And you're going to verify and substantiate anything that you tell me that you want me to file in your tax return. And the reason for that is because my mindset is, I know what the auditor is going to look like, or look for. I know what's going to happen if you got audited by the IRS. So therefore, let's just avoid all of that. Instead of you having to come out of this money, let's just start off by, number one, monitor the progress of your business. So if you are in business, you need some kind of record-keeping system. You need the proper bookkeeping methods, some techniques, some strategies. Just don't feel like you can just take your receipts and stick them off into a drawer, wait until tax time, and then go and start adding some things up and come up with some numbers. And then, you know what, I forgot I had some receipts over here, and you're running around your home or your office trying to find where all your stuff that you need to file your taxes. So, you know, the next level, okay, you are organized, and you know where your stuff is. They're in a folder. Every month you stick them off into a folder. Okay, but you never added them up. You don't have any totals, and then you have some receipts that has a little bit of this and a little bit of that on it. And I'm just going to be honest with you, to share a story with going along with monitoring the progress of your business. I talked to a gentleman and I explained to him how important it was to have a bookkeeper. He was like, no, I don't want to spend that money for a bookkeeper. I just want to come to you and get my taxes done every year. So I was like, okay, well, that's good. So I said, well, bring in what you have. So I'm used to the bags and the boxes and, you know, all that kind of stuff. I'm kind of used to people bringing me those types of items in, you know, to do their books. And, you know, I'm very patient and I do go through every single receipt and I do what's done, what needs to be done to get your taxes done. But I said, okay, so how long have you been in business? 3 years. Okay, so we're doing this 1 year. Yeah. So this sack that these 3 sacks that you're giving me is for 1 year? Yes. So my staff and I started going through the receipts and we found 7 years worth of receipts in 3 bags. 7 years. We looked at every receipt. We'd seen the dates that was on the receipts. So we had to sort these out. Come to find out, there has not been, let me just put it this way. We found out that he had not filed his taxes in 8 years. And all this time, he thought that he was filing his taxes. Now, I don't know how you can get confused about whether you file your taxes or not, but come to find out, he was paying this woman that was filing his taxes and was giving him a tax return and told him that it was being filed. He never followed through. He never went through the motion. He never, the second thing, prepared a financial statement so that he would know what his numbers look like. So he found the copies of it. The tax return was never signed by anyone. It says self-prepared. Warning, never, ever, never, ever go to someone who is professional and have them sign your tax return as a self-prepared. And if you never paid any attention to how you sign your tax return, look on the bottom of your tax return. When you sign it, it should have the company's name, it should have their federal ID number and other identification that is required by the IRS. So because he never paid attention, it was a self-prepared return, which means he prepared it himself. So that is one of the things that, and not just debt that he had to deal with, but he had to deal with how he's going to provide me some financial statements to prove to me that he had a business. Also, identify the sources of income. A lot of times I have clients that come in and says, well, I don't know how much money I made, here's my W-2. I have had people bring me W-2s that were incorrect. They left off a 0. They left off a couple of numbers on the front. I had a gentleman that was made at least $117,000 on his tax return. And on his W-2, it said that he made $17,000.
Uh-oh.
So, you out there in Facebook land, tell me this. What would you want me to do if you came in the office and brought me a W-2 that said that you made $17,000 for the year, but you really made $117,000? Hey, Brian, can you tell me what would you do? Would you want me to go ahead and file that $17,000? Or would you want me to contact the company and find out why it did not say $117,000?
Probably contact that company to find out what's going on behind the scenes.
Why is there a mistake on your W-2?
Exactly.
Okay, I want to know what you would do. I need to get some comments out there on Facebook. I want to know what you would do. Now, there's this due diligence that I talked about that I am required, someone like a lawyer, someone like any authority out there, to file and do the right thing. So I, of course, would tell you that you need to go back to the company. I had this happen, and this person actually went and got a software online and filed their taxes using that $17,000. And I refused to represent them in any kind of way. And, you know, you have to identify your source of income, and you have to be honest, and you have to be upfront. If you have income that someone else paid you and they did not give you a 1099, or they never gave you any documentation of what that income was and where it came from, but you know you got those checks. You know you got paid for doing some side hustles and some side work on it. You know that. So you need to report that income. But when you come to a tax advisor like myself and someone who's trained to do small business taxes, there is ways that we can offset that income. We can offset that income with deductions and expenses. You have to travel back and forth to do photography. You have to buy equipment. There's things that you have to consider a deduction and an expense for that. So there's ways to still report that income, because if the IRS finds out about it, because if they did an examination and you had to bring your bank statement in, your bank statement showed that you had $150,000 that came into your bank account, and you had to account for where that $150,000 came from. And legally, they have a right to look at your bank account. And they have a right to ask you, do you have a savings account? And whatever else you have. And so now, here's money coming into your savings account, money coming into your bank account, and they want to know where that money's coming from and how did it get there. So make sure that you keep track of sources of income. Get an accountant, get a bookkeeper, get someone that is experienced that can help you on a month-to-month basis keep track of these things. Okay. Another thing for good record keeping is to track your deductible expenses and know what is deductible based on your industry. Your industry is different from somebody else's industry, and your expenses are different. Before we get into some of the tax law changes, there's a lot of deductible expenses that you cannot use anymore. They just went away. You cannot use them. And one of the things was entertainment. So you can write off entertainment expense if, Julia, if you decided that you wanted to give a Christmas party to all the clients that you have talked to throughout the years. Some of it is going to be promotions because you want to get new clients.
Right.
So you throw this huge party and you spend $5,000. Well, normally you can write off that $5,000 because of entertainment, and there's a percentage of it that you can take. Now you cannot take that expense. So if it's a meeting that you have, and you conduct a meeting and you invite certain people to a meeting, there is what we call an office expense that you can put that $5,000 under. But you have to be very careful because you need to keep a roster, a list of the people who came there, what you talked about, just pretty much an agenda.
Right.
So there's ways that you can still do it and write that $5,000 off legally. But I had a client that came in and they had about $9,000 in places that they had been eating out, and it's obvious that when you have two people on there, there's chances it could be you and your spouse. So the IRS will look at that and say, no, this is just you and somebody else eating out and dining out. If you had something that said 5, 6, 7 people on there, then maybe it would look like it's a possibility that there were other people. So there's all kind of things out there that's getting people in debt because of the way of their deductions and how they're filing them. Keep track of the basis of in property. If you're buying equipment and depreciable equipment, which means that it's over a certain amount and you can depreciate it in value, you need to keep track of that. Prepare your tax returns, as we talked about. Don't wait until next year. And I had a gentleman that brought me 3 W-2s for 3 different years. And I said, well, why didn't you file your tax returns if you had your W-2s? He said, well, I just thought I'd just wait until I had enough money and then just get them done. Well, you have to file your tax return in the year that you have your W-2s. So prepare your tax returns and make sure you get a professional to do it. I know sometimes it's a lot cheaper. You can save money if you go online. You feel like you have an easy tax return and you want to do it yourself. It's okay, but every now and then, go to a tax advisor and have them take a second look. Have them look at your taxes and see if there's anything that can be changed, or just to see if there was something that you may have overlooked. Support items reported on your tax return. This is very important because there are people that really don't have receipts, but they may have their bank statements. Their car was broken into, someone stole their receipts. I don't know why they were in there, but some of them were in there in a bag, briefcase, and some things did get taken. And so there was no way of going back and duplicate that. But during an IRS full tax audit, not only do you have to bring your bank statements, but you have to bring your receipts as well. So make sure you have items that support that. Here are some tax tips that I would like to share with you. And then I would like to find out if there's any questions out there for that you may have, so I can answer some of your tax questions. So as far as preparing your tax return, you need good records to prepare your tax returns. These records must support the income, expenses, and credits that you report. So it's not just business, it's also personal. The same records that you use to monitor your business and to prepare your financial statement is what you need to use to prepare your tax returns. Support items reported on your tax return, you can keep these records and have them available to you. You never know when the IRS wants to see them. So also label them by the year so that you know what year they were and what information that you have, and be able to explain it. If you have someone else prepare your taxes, you should be able to explain it. So every year when I sit down with my client, I make sure that I take the time to educate them, explain it to them. I point line by line so that they understand what's on their tax return. And sometimes it seems like it's just a little unnecessary, but there has been times when they have tried to fill out a FAFSA form, or for whatever reason they go and try to get a loan, or they want to refinance their home, and the banker or the professional wants to see a copy of their tax return. A lot of times they're not able to understand what's even on there or be able to explain it. So you should be able to understand and know what's on your tax return. Now, to finalize some things here, I want you to be aware of the scams, be alert, and ask questions. So this picture right here is one of the #1 scams that is out there. Now, I would like for you to let me know in Facebook land how many of you have gotten a phone call, and I'm going to share with you how many people have going to respond. How many of you have gotten a phone call and said they were from the IRS and that you were going to go to jail because of something that you did not do, because you did not file your taxes, and you're going to go to jail, and if you did not call them back right away, that somebody was going to be out to your house, and on and on and on. So this is such a crazy scam. There are people that are responding to it.
Yeah, seriously.
There are people out there, and listen to me, please, please, do not ever, ever respond to anyone who said that they're calling you and they're from the IRS. Now, I had a lady tell me from the IRS that, well, give me your number now. I was talking to the IRS, for real. I was talking to the IRS. She tells me, well, I'm just going to give you a call back when I get some more information. And I said, for real? For real, I would not answer the phone call if you were to call me back, because everybody knows that the IRS does not call.
Right.
So because this scam is so huge and so many people are actually losing money, they're losing money. There's people giving their bank account information to these people on the phone call. And they're also verifying their address, they're verifying their phone number, they are giving the last 4 numbers of their credit cards, and most of the time it's because they have already tapped into something else of yours. And so now they're getting bits and pieces of information so that they can put together whatever they need to get your money. And if you don't have any money, believe me, you will be in serious debt, because a fake tax return can be filled out with your name, your social security number, your address. They will create a W-2 because they know where you used to work, because of history that they can find online about where you work. And also you've been sharing on Facebook, you know, some of the places that you've been working. And you also go to LinkedIn and you show your professional profile, and people know what career that you're in. They see that you, you're celebrating 10 years from working at XYZ company. So guess what? Now they know where you work. They know you've been there for 10 years. And so now they make this fake W-2 up, and there are tax professionals that are helping them because they got this scam together. So they are getting these false numbers. They're getting a real tax ID number so that they can file the tax return. And so now, here's this big, huge refund, or maybe it's not even a huge refund. But the fact is that they used your information, they stole your identity, you helped them out because you gave them everything that they needed when they called you on the phone, and you were scared that you had this tax debt that you owed, and they said that if you don't pay it now, you're going to jail. I've had at least about 25 calls last year, clients asking me, and I'm so glad, and I thank you all for reaching out and asking me, is this real? Should I give this information out? A lot of times, you know, people don't call me and ask me. They tell me later this is something that they've done and what can they do later. So look out for this. And so can anybody tell me how many people actually responded to that question on Facebook Live? I wanted them to tell me how many people were responding to the fact that they got this phone call. And I know we probably got a lot of people out there. I know at least 50 people has probably responding and saying that they gotten that call. Yeah, I would like to share that number with you guys because it's very serious. And but just make sure that you be aware of the fact that there is no such thing as the IRS taking you to jail or that you're going to be arrested because of that. Now, you can go to jail if you don't file your taxes because they will put a lien on your house. Yes. They will put a lien on your car. Yep. They will put a lien on anything that's standing.
Yeah, you don't want to play with that.
They will.
Any money you're going to make.
Anything. They can put a lien. They can put a lien on a lien before a lien happens, which means that
the IRS.
The IRS. Which, and you know, it's a funny thing, but the thing of it is that in the state of Nebraska and maybe some of the other states out there, they have laws where you have to report new hire. So because they have to report new hires, even if you go and fill out an application and you're anticipating on working somewhere, it's in a system. It's in somebody's database. So guess what? Before you even start that job and say yes, there's already a letter being on its way to say, okay, so their first paycheck, this is how much money, you know. And I had a client that, only one client that I ever had that happened to, but they had a lien on their bank account. And they were going to pay $7,500 to a company that can remove a lien within 24 hours. And I was like, oh, really? I can use $7,500. You know, you've been my tax client for over 10 years. They had been my tax client. But she did call me and told me this is what they were getting ready to do. So I said, okay, so what are they going to do for you? Well, they're going to call the IRS, and they're going to tell them to stop the lien. So I kind of smiled a little bit, and I was like, okay, really? You know, they're going to call, they got the authority to call the IRS and just tell them to stop this lien, you know. Well, it wasn't true. So they was out of $7,500 because, you know, they really did call me after the fact, but they did call me. They had already released the money. But that's not how you do it. So you have questions about how to do it, contact me. You know, my information will be available to you as far as, you know, tax liens, how do you do that. But this is all about debt and what you can do to stay out of debt and to be mindful that taxes is a serious thing. Now, as far as the new tax laws, before I get into that, is there any questions out there that I need to answer before I go into some new tax laws?
I have a question.
Yeah, you have one too? Great, yeah, thank you.
Don't you just love this tax guru right here? Irene Tryon, you guys, IT Tax Solutions. She has been in the business for years. I used to run an H&R Block for a few years, and I hate to say it as a friend, we never divulge any confidential information, but just that sounding board, she is just a wealth of information. I tell you, oh my goodness. But I do have a question, because this is my thing with the clients that I come across. I do my own taxes.
Okay.
And yeah, I know I should sit down and probably talk to somebody, but I've been doing my own taxes for years. And I guess because they get back what they think they're supposed to get back. What would you say about those clients? Not that it's a bad thing.
Right.
What recommendations? What? Because my take on it is always, because I've worked in the tax industry just for a few years, was you need someone else to look at it That's what I thought, but what's your take on that?
You're exactly right. You know, you need to at least have a second look. And a second look don't mean the same company taking a second look.
Okay.
A second look should be someone outside of the person who originally prepared it.
Okay.
So, you know, and if I have any of my clients that say, you know what, I want to have somebody else take a look, you know, yes.
Most
Somebody
definitely.
else take a look. You know, there's millions of tax laws out there, but there's basic tax laws that apply to just a basic situation. And you should never assume that your taxes are so easy that you can do it yourself.
Oh, wow, that's
Because of the
good.
tax law changes and some of the things that, there's glitches in the programs. Sometimes those are questions that you asked that you didn't know you said yes, and you really did click no, but it was supposed to be yes, or the reverse. And so it does things and it opens up other questions.
Oh, my goodness.
That really doesn't apply to you. So, you know, it's really, I'll just say it like this. When you are advising them to get a second look and to, you know, I highly recommend that they go to a tax advisor.
Yes.
Someone who specializes in what they do. If they're a business owner, it needs to be someone who specializes in what they do.
Yes.
There are CPAs, there are other professionals that specialize in what they do in finance, but not necessarily taxes. So if you do go to an accountant, make sure that they specialize in taxes, so that they can properly advise you.
So if they're a CPA, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're certified tax CPAs?
They're certified in finance,
Okay,
but their specialty may not be taxes.
which is even more so a reason to get another look.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes,
That was
yes,
my question.
yes.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
thank you, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. If you go, I decided years ago when my children started heading into college, I stopped doing my own taxes and went to a company to do them and had been there for several years now. And what are the liabilities if you go to a professional tax company
Okay.
and you pay them to do your taxes and they mess up, but not 1 year, but 2 years in a row?
Okay.
To the tune of, we now owe the IRS over $7,000. And it had to do with the student, the student deduction versus a lifetime deduction.
Okay, okay,
And,
the lifetime tax credit,
Which,
okay,
a couple of them should have been on lifetime a couple of years ago.
okay.
But, you know, you go, you get your refund, you trust them. We got a new vehicle that we would have never thought we could have done, you know,
Okay.
different things like that. But now we have to pay back all that money. We went to them, we trusted them, understand that they pay the fees and they pay the interest, but
And that's
they,
it.
that's it.
That's it. That's the only thing that a tax professional, a tax company is only responsible for the fees or the penalties that occur when they filed your taxes. And that is not a mandatory. That's just a way of saying, you know, this is what I can do to help you out. Now, even if they made an error, it's still your responsibility because you signed the tax return. If you sign that tax return, you need to understand everything regarding that tax return.
That's good.
And if you don't understand everything regarding the tax return and you sign it, and there's errors, there's things that happen, like with an audit, or if the IRS corrects it, that's on you. 100% on you, yes.
The thing about it though, and you're correct, 100% correct. And the thing about it is you don't know what you don't know,
Okay.
and you don't know the laws and that. So do you recommend getting a second opinion
I
when you go
always
to a professional?
recommend, yes, I always recommend a second look if you have doubts yourself. Now, you can always go to the website, irs.gov. You can always go there and just Google whatever that question is. You know, if it's student cost or if it's their lifetime credit. Now, here's the thing with that. If that same person has been preparing your taxes, they have in their system when that credit was taken. So therefore, the system is supposed to already ask them, did this credit get taken the prior year? And then there is like about 5 or 7 questions that is asked when you put that 1098T in there. When you put that in there, it's going to ask questions regarding the student. It's going to say, have you completed the 4 years of college yet? It's gonna ask you, is this, going to be a degree? You know, it asks all these questions. So if you answer those questions, at the very end, it's gonna say, was that prior credit taken? And if so, how many years was that prior credit taken?
Exactly.
So if that's done, there's a worksheet that is printed off with that. So I advise you to always get your worksheets. That's the second thing. Get your worksheet. Sometimes when you go and get your taxes done, you just get the main filing forms, your 1040s and maybe your schedules, because those are required by law to get those to you, but the worksheets are not.
Right.
So you may want to say, you know what, can I get any worksheets? And then, can I look at my tax return before I sign it? Sit down, take your time. I got coffee and cookies and things that you can, you know, I got a puzzle that you can sit there and do. You know, I got Lego blocks for your kids that you bring them with you. You know, I don't rush you. And, you know, and I'm hoping that other tax professionals out there hearing me, you know, don't rush your clients into doing anything. You know, give them the time that they need. Even if they have to pay for their services first, you're getting paid, but give them that opportunity to take their taxes home and let them look at it. You know, let them look it over. Give them that opportunity and not make them feel that they're so rushed that they have to do it. And then this is a costly mistake, because it's all about integrity.
That my biggest
It's all about integrity.
My biggest lesson we learned on this: don't wait to the last minute. You know, don't push it to the end and then not have the time to sit down and go through it detail by detail. And we are aware of that, you know, and doing things differently. But
and when you've been in business for a number of years, you kind of get used to your clients, and you kind of know, you know, who needs more time than the other person may need, or because we take the time to explain every tax return. You know, there's times when my clients like, oh no, you know, I trust you, you know, just, you know, no, I want you to see what this is and why it is. And especially now since the new tax laws, you know, I'm making sure that they fully understand how it has an effect on their taxes. But not to say anything negative about the person that done your taxes, but, you know, if it happened the first year, I would definitely have made sure that, you know, they sat down and showed me, you know, that second year, or if it was not that opportunity, whatever it was, I think is that they would owe it to you on a level of integrity, you know. But I don't understand why the amount was so high as far as what was ended up being owed. I would probably have to evaluate that
it was
myself.
2 kids, 2 years, and what happened was we were audited for 2017. And then they went in and found out that it happened in 2016.
Which is what we talked about prior.
Got it.
One thing can trigger back. And normally it's always 2 years of audits within, you know, they may be looking at that 17 tax year, but they have the right to also go back to your 16. Yeah.
And we were lucky they only asked for items to do with school. That was nice. We didn't
That's
have
what
to
they
send in every
asked.
little detail.
That's what they asked, and that's what was on the reporting form at the time when they examined. But I guarantee you, there's other things now that are in the system that, you know, and they can ask questions again on the same tax year.
Now
They're just waiting for money. Honestly, that's what they're waiting for. But it's
do a payment plan, and you know, there will be interest involved in it, and I highly recommend people not to do it on their credit cards. Just go straight to the IRS and just do a payment plan, and you know, don't get stressed out about it. You know, please don't get stressed out about it. It's not that serious. I mean, life is not promised to us. We don't know when we're going to be here. So, you know, live life to the fullest. You know, I recommend that you do that. Don't get so stressed and so tied up in any kind of debt to where, you know, you're just throwing your whole life away in one day because you got to pay somebody something. Yes, you do want to, and I'm sure, you know, Ms. Ryan will talk to you about that. But the main thing is that if you know it's there, get a payment plan. You know, do what's, you know, find out about your budget. Get a financial advisor. Get someone that can tell you how and what's the best way to do it, but don't, you know, go in further in debt trying to pay a tax debt.
Great. And another piece of advice I'd give to anybody and everybody: call the IRS. Instead of going to that company or whatever, unless you are your second opinion person. But people hesitate to call the IRS. Don't call. You know, you're afraid what you're going to hear. They have been so helpful explaining, understanding, telling us exactly what we needed, because they send you letters, you're like, I don't know what this means.
Yes.
And just picking up the phone and calling them. They are human. They do care. The ones, at least we were lucky enough to work with, that explained it all, and I'm glad we went directly.
Yes,
instead
and
of
that's
getting
a-
false information from the same company again.
Right, and when we were talking about, oh no, that was probably earlier, but we talked about, your tax rights and your responsibilities. And, you know, you can go onto the IRS website and it will tell you that, but yes, you do have the right to call the IRS and ask so many questions that you have. And they are very good about explaining it, but a lot of times, if it's falling back on the person who filed your taxes, they're gonna kind of steer you in that direction, because they want to try to put that responsibility back on them so they can be accountable for whatever error and mistakes that may have been made. Because there is, I'm not sure the name that they call it, but we do get graded for the number of errors that we do as tax professionals.
Well, good. We
And
don't
so
have to talk
there's,
about that.
so there is a report out there that we can see how many mistakes that we've made and what areas they've been made in, and what that does is it triggers and do flags on us as tax professionals.
Does that automatically happen?
Yes, yes.
Great, because-
So every time you have a number that's assigned to you, so when that number is assigned to you, and every time you prepare a tax return, it's like, okay, there you are, I see you. Okay, now here's all the mistakes that you've made, because we have to hold ourselves accountable
Yeah.
for what we're doing. We can't just be out there just filing tax returns and plugging in numbers and, you know, letting people get the biggest tax refund that they can, because that's what some of us do. But, you know, my main goal is, yes, I do want to help you lower your taxes, but we're gonna do it the best way, the legal way. And then I take time to find strategies for what's gonna work best.
Yeah.
You know, this deduction might go best over here, this credit should be taken maybe next year and not this year. There's all kind of strategies out there, and you don't know them all,
Right.
but you try to do the best that you can, you know, to help lower those taxes. Nobody wants to pay taxes, but, you know, I would just say, if you're uncomfortable with that person, just sit down and talk to them. You know, they're human too, you know, and if they did make a mistake and they take responsibility for that mistake, the last thing I would want my client to do is walk away after being with me for 10 years and because I made a mistake, you know, I'm the worst person in the world. You know, I want to know what mistake I made, or maybe my staff might have made that mistake, you know, but integrity wise, you know, this is what I can do. But if my account says, pay your $7,000 for you, guarantee you I would do it.
You know what? And it goes back to integrity again, knowing how many red flags showed up when they were processing the taxes for asking how long your kids have been in school. I remember when I was processing it myself.
They were there.
Yeah.
They were there.
And I know that was 2 kids, 2 years.
Yeah, and you have to like not rush. You know, sometimes clients come in and, you know, I need it and I need it now. You know, and you go to these places, you know, H&R Block and some of these other places, they're set up to do fast taxes and do your taxes now, and for the simple taxes where it may not take that much. You know, but a mistake is a mistake. You know, and I have had clients that have paid $600, $700, $800 just for an individual return, and then they come to me and I tell them this is how much the fee is, and they go, well, something's got to be wrong. You're only going to charge me $300 and I paid $700 for the same type of return. So that makes me look as if I'm not qualified to do my job because I'm charging less. So, you know, sometimes people have different perspective of how they see things. You know, but if you want your taxes done tomorrow, you'll get them tomorrow. If you want them today, you'll get them today. But I guarantee you're going to get them when I feel comfortable in knowing that they're done and they're done right. And now you can sit and hear me explain it to you, and then you can sign off on it.
Well, we very much thank you for answering such a lengthy question. We look forward to meeting with you because now we're hesitant where to go this year.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why we haven't filed yet, is because we're hesitant.
Yeah.
You know, let alone the fact that with all
Right,
the changes and
right.
owning a business and things like that.
Our expertise is business taxes because we have been working with businesses for over 30 years, and we've seen them all. We've seen everything. The main thing is that we coach, you know, businesses. We walk through. We help you to better understand what your business is, why it is, what you're doing, why you're doing it. And we also find ways to help you get to your millionaire status, your multi-millionaire status. It's not just about taxes, but it's about helping you get where you want to go, achieve your goals. And a lot of times you can see, people don't realize you can see a whole lot of stuff on the tax return.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just names and numbers, you know, but it's people's lives are on that tax return. And it's a lot that you can get from it, just like with finances. You can get that information if you want it. but if the person is open for you to sit down and talk with them, you know, for example, if I was talking to Mr. Man here, and I was saying, hey, this is what I can do. Oh no, my auntie, she does my stuff, and you know, she would be very upset if I went to someone else. You know, and we keep it in the family. You know, we want to make sure that this person does our, and you know, it's keep it in the family. Okay, you can keep it in the family, but get a second look. Get a second look. Get someone else with eyes outside. And then let me help you with this. A way that you can do this is to say, you know what, I know that you've been doing my taxes for years, and I know that you know everything about everything, but you know, this year, I just want to get a second look because of all the tax changes and everything, you know, and then if I find out anything, is it okay if I come back to you and share it with you? If you approach it that way, you know, that person shouldn't feel no kind of way, you know, about you, you know, wanting to get a second look. Because again, your auntie cannot pay your taxes for you.
That's right.
You know, and if they are wrong, now there's relationships with the family that you're gonna have to deal with because they could be wrong.
That's
You know,
good.
so I would say always get a second opinion, always get, you know, that advice. And I've had clients that have done it and I have not been offended one way at all. You know, do what you need to do, you know, for yourself. Is there any other questions on Facebook that I can answer?
Let me see. Nope, I do got a plug.
Turn that around, I was gonna get those changes.
I got a plug. Irene has, her company has been doing my taxes for years, and even as a licensed tax professional myself, she is so thorough. Her company is so phenomenal. All I can do is tell you, when it comes to getting a second look, if you do anything, just sit down, get educated, and get a second look. There are other tax professionals, CPAs, that Lana Solutions works with, but when it comes to really sitting down with different types of folks, Irene is awesome. So I just want to tell you my story, and this is just my story as a business owner. We sat down and we were crunching numbers, and she's educating me as usual when it comes to taxes, and something didn't sit right. So instead of being forced to push the send button or sign off on my taxes, because she has a ton of clients and this is a busy time for her.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
She took her time. Maybe we sat on it a day or two. She went home with it and did some investigative work and found me and my family, single mom, 6 kids, an additional $3,000. And I can't even explain how she found it, but she had the expertise to go deeper to see what was going on. She had been doing my taxes for years, and with both of us, something just didn't sit right. So those are the tax professionals that you need in your corner. I just want to make sure you guys knew that.
Where can we buy your book?
Thanks for asking. Okay, I will be going to my next conference. It's coming up here in another 2 weeks, and I will be bringing back the books with me then. We're going to have a big conference in Houston talking about this is a co-author book, and basically when you co-author, you have other individuals, other professionals that are writing in the same book. And so I chose to write about Rise Above Poverty. So I will have my website out by Monday, and so you can go to ittaxsolutions.com, and there will be a link there where you can click on Rise Above. I will have this picture on there, and you can go there and pre-order the book. There's also some other books that's going to be coming out, and we're also going to be having some workshops coming up. And one of our new projects is working with seniors. So as a senior business and tax coach, I will be working with those who are retired and want to do something with themselves, not just sit around and watching soap operas and drinking coffee. You know, when you come off a job, you know, you've been on a job for 30 years and you put your life into working for someone, and then now it's time for you. So some of those dreams and goals and things that you've been thinking about doing, and for some reason you just haven't done them, this is the time for you and I to sit down and go over what those dreams and goals are. And this is part of what Rise Above is, because it's going to help individuals rise above and see those things and accomplish those things that they never had a chance to do. So yes, if you go online, you'll be able to get that. And I'll have some links going to some of the places where you can actually get a hold of the book. Yes.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Miss Irene. Again, we are live in Omaha, Nebraska. You've heard a tremendous woman who's been in the business for 30 years. And I have to tell you, there are times I've been in her office, and there have been companies from around the country calling her on the phone saying, can you take another look at this and tell me what you find and what you couldn't find? And she's very thorough. She used this word due diligence. She makes sure that you get the information that you desire, and she makes sure that you understand it. Well, we're going to take a little break right now, and the next person you're going to see is Nicole Ryan. I'm Daryl Grant Faustness. We are live in Omaha, Nebraska at the Omaha Bakery. I'll tell you what I do while we're waiting for Miss Nicole to get together. I own a company called Grant Faustness Media Group. We are a media company. We do anything from voiceover in movies and television commercials to audiobooks to anything that you would like to do. We have a website called thevoicepipes.com. You can see what I do. So if you're interested in what I do, just give us a call. Our number is 531-375-3016. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. You can give us a call again at 531-375-3016. We hope this information is very informative to you. It has taught me a lot today. If you are a company and you want to talk to Miss Julie Peterson on some financial issues, you can give her a call. If you want to talk about taxes, you can talk to Miss Irene Tryon. And if the next person will come up in a couple of minutes, her name is Nicole Ryan. She has this thing called Debt Solutions. She's a brilliant person in this area, so relax, get a cup of coffee, drink some tea, go make a sandwich like we always say, and come on back. We're still live in Omaha, Nebraska. Thank you.